Hi, this is Jeremy Wendemuller, Trial Manager here at Walters Gardens, and today we're going to talk about Mangave. A Mangave is a cross between an Agave and a Manfreda, and what that does is it really makes these pointy ends on the plants a lot less lethal. If you ever touched an Agave, they're very spiky. They'll go right through your pant leg. And it also, one thing as a grower I like about Mangave over an Agave is the speed of finishing is much quicker with a Mangave. You're looking at roughly half the time to finish than what an Agave would take. Mangaves are typically hardy down to zone 8 or 9 depending on the variety, so make sure you check our cultural sheets for the recommendations for the hardiness zones. And as far as planting goes, we offer these as a 72 count plug, and these are typically planted in a warm greenhouse in warmer temperatures of around 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's very important to keep them warm with good light levels. And Mangave do not require vernalization at all. You want to keep the minimum temperature at least 60 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's better off being at closer to 65 to 75 so that they keep active. And as far as finish times go, for a 1 quart pot from a 72 count plug, for these broadleaf varieties, you're looking at around an 8 to 10 week finish time. And with a narrow leaf variety like Bad Hair Day, you're going to look at more like a 12 to 14 week finish time. So just be sure that you're watching the varieties and the finish times that go with them. So typically these are planted in early summer when you have the light and heat available. But you can get them in a little earlier and give them supplemental heat and light if necessary. The soil pH for Mangave should be held at around 6.2 to 6.8 with an EC level of 1.0 to 1.25. So that means Mangave are not very heavy feeders at all. And so as far as feeding goes, we recommend feeding once every 2 weeks with a light feed of around 100 parts per million with the liquid feed, and just be sure that you're not overfeeding and that the salts are leached out if that tends to build up. As far as moisture goes, we recommend a moderate moisture. You want to make sure that even though these are succulent type plants, you want to avoid overly dry conditions as it will cause the plant to basically go dormant. You want to keep consistent moisture there, and also water them earlier in the day so the foliage can dry out, as some of these can cup a lot of water into the foliage. And also make sure that as these plants grow and they cover up the soil of the container, that you really get down in there and get that water to the soil rather than just having it run off the foliage. As far as planting levels go, you want to plant the plug even with the soil line in the container. Again, avoid burying that plant too deep in the ground. And as far as overwintering goes, like we mentioned earlier, do not go below 60 degrees Fahrenheit. These are plants that need to be kept warm throughout the winter. So if you're not selling that 1 quart and you want to grow these onto a bigger pot like these 1 gallon pots you see here, these are roughly a year-old plants here from a 72 count plug. So it gives you an idea how quickly these can grow compared to an Agave, but they still take a lot of time. So it's very important to overwinter them properly and keep them just slightly moist throughout the winter months. Again, this is Jeremy Wendemuller with Walters Gardens, and we hope you enjoyed this video on Mangave.